speakers today for you. Um, we have Greiser, Solar Program Manager. Mitch is a mission-driven program manager for Self with 6 years expertise in renewable energy. He specializes in technical due diligence and verification for distributed clean energy infrastructure, focused on scaling quality solar portfolios when safeguarding borrowers from predatory industry practices. A dedicated advocate for equitable climate solutions with past experiences as a solar consultant. Mitchell has guided more than 400 families successfully solarizing their homes. We have Jeffrey Kenny with us, the co-founder and COO, PowerSol USA. Jeffrey Kenny has over 11 years of experience in the solar industry, and he is the COO of PowerSol USA, a Florida-based solar and battery storage contractor. Prior to co-founding PowerSol USA, Jeff worked with as an insurance adjuster beginning in 2005, specializing in catastrophic structural damage. His background gives him a unique perspective on solar roofing and storm preparation and a long-term system reliability. We then have David Taylor. David has been in the renewable industry for over 6 years and is the current solutions expert for Anchor Solix. Before joining Anchor Solix, he was a design manager for a national solar installer, managing territories in Texas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. Growing up in Houston, he has direct experience with what negative impacts weather can bring on homeowners' power, and the importance of having a way to keep the lights on. Thank you all for being here and sharing your expertise. And we're going to go ahead and start with Mitch today.
Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate that intro. Hi, everyone. Excited to be here. As Sherry has mentioned, I'm the solar program manager at Solar and Energy Loan Fund. I've seen a lot of different types of solutions for backup power, and the goal today, hopefully, is to bring more insight to your storm ready toolkit. That way, you're up to speed and completely understand the importance of being prepared with your backup solution in Florida. These next few slides, I'm going to go over some statistics in Florida when it comes to power outages. This first slide over here is really, the reality living in Florida is that this is a hurricane prone state. So, one thing we know for sure is that power is going to go out. It could be days or even weeks in the hardest hit areas for that power to be restored. And so, two typical two hurricanes that have, in the past decade that I like to bring up here, Hurricane Michael and Hurricane Ian. They each one created quite a bit of a power outage in the area. So with Hurricane Michael in 2018, it was a Category 5 and knocked out power for over 400,000 Floridians. And in the worst parts of the Panhandle, it took 23 days to fully restore power. And then we have Hurricane Ian, which made landfall in 2022. That was a Category 4. It took power away from almost 3 million customers. And if you think about that, that's roughly 30% of every home in the state, all going without power around the same time. So for most of us, the real question isn't that the power is going to go out. It's for how long. And the first thing that comes to our mind as a Florida homeowner would be, are you backup ready? And, the first thing is thinking about a generator. So this next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about generators. And here, you'll see to the left some, interesting things about generators. Obviously, they have its place, but they do come with strings attached. So for a portable generator, that means, if you have a long outage, you're running to the gas station over and over. And, right after a storm, that's exactly when gas stations are out of fuel or have no power to pump it. And so you're kind of left stranded sometimes, trying to fill up this portable generator. And then with a standby generator, runs off of a tank also that can run dry, or a natural gas line that shuts down if the storm has damaged the local pipes. And so, both of these type of solutions are loud. They put out fumes, and they need a regular upkeep to actually start when you need them. Hopefully, um, on the other side, solar battery, kind of turns all that around. It's quiet and clean. There's no engine. There's no exhaust. It refuels itself from the sun, so there's nothing to haul or store. And then on top of all that, hopefully something that may come in the near future is that you could leverage these solar batteries as part of a virtual power plant program and get compensated for providing energy to the grid during times of high demand. And so, a lot of good uses with a solar battery. Now, I don't want to say that generators are a bad thing per se, because they still do serve a great purpose, and it can actually be a smart setup to have what we call a hybrid backup solution. So, where you have your solar batteries that power your home, if they were to get drained in the event of a long stretch of overcast or clouds, you have this portable or standby generator that can be served as a secondary backup. And so, in fact, Jeff, who's the owner of PowerSol USA, he'll go a little bit more deeply into how you can pair a portable generator with a solar battery at a low cost. We can move on to the next slide. So it isn't only about hurricanes or severe storms when you lose power. Even during ordinary weather, the power can go out. So, here you see a typical Florida home loses power about once a year for around an hour. And if you live out in the rural area, it's closer to two to three times a year for a few hours each time. Um, and that's where we are today. If we were to, kind of look ahead, you know, and how that looks like, because our grid infrastructure is only getting older. Um, there was a study done by the U.S. Department of Energy. They kind of modeled out the grid for the next 4 years up to 2030, and they found out in a very worst case scenario that the risk of outages could climb 100-fold. So that means, what we're seeing right now with single digits today could look more than 800 hours a year. So, that's hard to fathom to think about. It's quite a bit of a change in the frequency of outages. But the reason for this study was brought in for the simple fact that a lot of these natural gas, coal fire power plants are planning to retire, setting to retire, and that's 104 gigawatts of power that's we're no longer going to have, and only a small slice of it's going to be replaced at a reasonable time. And so, um, you know, this is where utility scale solar and battery will help close the gap. So although this is a very worst case scenario, we're probably not going to see that. It's just kind of showing you what could happen if we continue to trend in this direction. Um, you know, but what we do know for sure, and the biggest takeaway, is that there will be more power outages, and having a good backup ready system can help you be prepared for it. And not only that, this virtual power plant programs, are going to be more of a necessity for the utility, so that when you're not using the battery for your own home, you can have the option to provide power to the grid and get compensated for it. So I think that's extraordinarily important, knowing that if your battery is idle, you can actually get rewarded and get compensated for that battery. Could move on to the next slide, Sherry. Um, so I just really wanted to briefly touch on this. We all know that the power bills are rising, and the what I really wanted to kind of point here is, that they've, in the last 10 years they've been steadily rising, um, and you can see with the big utility providers here, whether you have FPL, which a typical bill in the last decade have went up 35%, or Duke 45%, or Tampa Electric as much as 60%. The common trend here is that it's going up quite a bit, and you know, and there's more of these rolling out. in 2027 and beyond. So um, it's safe to say that the power bills are going to continue to rise over a period of time. And one thing I do like to point out that is typically can go unnoticed at times is that, you know, um, after every major hurricane, the utility adds a temporary storm surcharge. And so that's a separate line on your bill to pay back the cost of restoration. And so, depending on if it's FPL Duke or Tampa Electric, it can run anywhere from $12 to $25 a month, but those can last for months and even years. And so, you have your rising electricity rates, but then you also have these store charges also added to that bill. So, you know, um, you know, the big takeaway here is that power bills are rising. It's not just power outages as well. So, we can move on to the next slide. So, kind of just to put it all together here is when you add solar and storage to your home, three good things happen at once. First, your power bill drops, usually somewhere between 40 to 90%, depending on your home and how much you install. Second, you get real backup. Your essentials and even your air conditioning can keep running through an outage. And third, um, you know, you don't have to come out of pocket. There is affordable financing solutions. Here at Self, we do finance these projects with $0 down, and monthly payments can be um, as low or below $200 a month to help you get solar and battery installed for your home. And move to the next slide. And this is just kind of a visualization. I find this a great picture to kind of understand the whole solar battery ecosystem. And and what you see here is essentially how the power flows through different uh, loads in your house. And so essentially the sun will, as long as the sun's out, the solar panels will generate power. It will go through an inverter that's will transfer that electricity from um, DC to AC. You'll have your main panel that will distribute that electricity. Um, and then that electricity will either go back to the grid if it's not being used, or go to charge your battery if it needs to be charged, or be used for your any loads in your home. And that's going to be the first priority, is making sure that the loads in your home are being powered through the solar. And then your battery would be next, and then anything left over will be sent back to the grid. And so these loads could be anything from EV chargers to high 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 consumption loads as an HVAC system, or just your critical appliances. And they all can be you know controlled through an app if you have a smart panel as well. And so just wanted to kind of give you that brief little visual aid so you kind of understand how everything gets connected. And we can move on to the next slide, Sherry. And so as we dive deeper into this webinar, the goal is affordable solutions. And how do we come about together is that us, so Self as a nonprofit lender, Green Bank, we have partnered with PowerSol USA, who is a credible installer for the state of Florida, and then as the battery manufacturer Anchor, who's David will speak more about Anchor, but has had a ginormous presence in this space, and provides a very unique battery solution and setup. And so we've all come together and really wanted to close the gap, and that gap is largely on the pricing of when it comes to getting solar batteries for your home and getting panels. We want it to be affordable. And so we've kind of came together to help make that happen. And so what you're going to see in these next few slides is get a better understanding of who we are, and what kind of also bundles, what we call home energy bundles, that you could look into getting for your home, that's affordable. And so this last slide that I'm going to present, just talks about who Self is a little bit. our financing is really built on trust. We provide flexible financing. Our approvals, we don't have a FICO minimum. We believe that your credit worthiness as a homeowner is based on your ability to repay. And so we really take the time to ensure that you are credit worthy and not just determined by an actual score on the credit on a credit report. Um, on top of that, we vet all our contractors, we vet all our quotes. We offer very transparent, low fees with competitive interest rates. We have loan officers that have boots on the ground. They're one phone call away. Um, we're not, AI behind a email. We're real people helping you understand your project and your loan, and we don't put liens on your home. We only secure the equipment, not a property lien on the home, and our loans can go up to $50,000 with 7-year terms as our max. And then I'm going to now kick it off to David, who's going to be the representative for Anchor, and he's going to go deeper into the type of battery that is not only affordable, but really a modular battery that could be a lot of good use cases. I'll let him talk because he's the expert. But he's going to talk about the battery that makes the most sense right now for Floridians, for your situation, for backup readiness. All right, David, you can take it away.
Nice. Thank you for that, Mitch. So, my name's David. I'm here today to talk to you guys about Anchor, who we are, and what we're offering to everyone in Florida to try to keep the lights on when hurricane season comes. So, on this first slide that we're going to get into next is just going to kind of talk about who we are as a company and where we've kind of started from and where we've grown to today. So, if we can go to the next slide. Yeah. So a lot of you probably know us as the mobile phone charging people. A lot of you guys probably have our cords, our phone chargers, things like that. So as the years have gone on, we've been making batteries for about 15 years now. So we started off with the small guys on the left, with the portable power stations, a lot of things that people can take with them camping, got bigger and bigger throughout the years, got portable power stations powerful enough to keep the refrigerator, the lights, the TV on, things like that. So the next step, it only made more sense to try to capture that whole home market, which is what we're going to introduce today with our Anchor Solix E10. So before we get to that, though, we want to talk about a couple of the issues that current solutions on the market have. So on the next slide, you can kind of see the existing options that a lot of homeowners have today, whether it be a portable generator, maybe doesn't have enough power to keep everything that they want powered on. Even other existing battery systems you see in the middle, they're really complicated and messy install. It looks like you've got a science project on the side of your house. Or maybe you have the permanently installed standby generator there on the right, which can be a very costly install. It's noisy, it's loud, it has to have a service package, things like that. So we wanted to make something that could kind of eliminate these three big challenges that a lot of homeowners are facing today. And up next is what we have to show to you guys today on the next slide is our Anchor Solix E10. So this is what we have as our first hybrid whole home backup solution, meaning it's not a question of do I want battery or do I want generator? You can have both. And by using both, you can use the strengths of both to eliminate the weaknesses that each one has. So to give you a quick introduction on the product itself, right there in the middle, that's the star of the show. That's the E10 itself. It is a modular battery system. So that's two battery modules right there with our what we call the power module on top. That is the hybrid inverter. That's what converts the electricity to be stored or to be used. On the right is our power dock. So that is a smart panel and transfer switch all combined into one. And on the left is our smart generator, and we'll get into all the fun stuff that it can do too. But First things first, let's talk about the storage system and the transfer switch, the power dock. So the power dock is what everything plugs into, whether it be your solar system, your generator, your battery system. So this is also going to be your smart panel, meaning any breaker that you land in here, you're going to be able to control via your phone. You're going to be able to set backup strategies to automatically turn things on or off in an outage situation. And the good thing about that is too, if you are maybe away from home when the power goes out, you can then open your phone, turn off your power hungry loads like your air conditioner and things like that. So you don't have to worry about your battery being drained when you're out grocery shopping or picking up the kids from school, things like that. And being in Florida, I know that if it can power an HVAC unit, keep your home cool is kind of the make or break for a lot of people. This is powerful enough to start a 5-ton HVAC unit. So you can truly do whole home backup with this new battery system. So on the next slide, we'll talk about how high you can kind of scale it. We talked about what all you can power. So because it is a modular system, you can scale this to whatever needs that you have. So if you want to start small, you can kind of do what you got on the left-hand side. You can start with just a 6 kilowatt hour system. Maybe you just want to keep the refrigerator, the lights, TV, internet, just the essentials. If you want to prepare for the storm to end all storms, you're not confident that the power is going to come back anytime soon, you can go all the way to the right. You can max it out at 90 kilowatt hours. Um, Probably you're going to want something in the middle, but this is a good kind of representation of how you can kind of customize it to whatever your needs are. And because it is modular, it allows you to start with maybe a smaller size system and then expand upon it in the future if you need to as well. So with battery, a lot of people are going to want to charge this with solar. That's usually the go-to method to keeping the batteries charged. So you've got two ways of doing it, whether you want to have an AC solar system, meaning your traditional grid-tied suburbia system. You can land that onto a breaker in the power dock and have everything be controlled through there. If you want to take a more DIY approach and do a DC solar system, you can do that as well, meaning that the solar panels will plug directly into the batteries themselves. That way you can keep the batteries powered in case you have an extended outage. But we know solar is not everyone's cup of tea. Maybe it's not right for you. With that, on the next slide, we can start talking about the alternative option, which is kind of new when it comes to battery, because a lot of people don't think about combining generator and battery, but with this system, you can. So this is our smart generator. It plugs directly into the battery system itself. It'll keep it charged when maybe the sun's not shining, it's nighttime. Solar's not a realistic option for you in that case. This is the backup to your backup. This is that extra layer of redundancy that's going to make sure that you can get through whatever outage that you're currently experiencing. So it is tri-fuel, meaning you can run this on gasoline, you can run this on propane, and if you have a natural gas hookup in your backyard, you can connect it to that. And once you have it connected into a fuel source, it's in a safe area and connected to the battery, you can program this thing to automatically start whenever the batteries hit a certain threshold. You can turn it on remotely via the app as well by yourself. So no more going outside in the middle of a rainstorm, no more tearing your shoulder apart trying to pull that ripcord. You can start everything remotely, or if all that fails and you do have to go out there, it's just a quick tap of the button. No having to really worry about being out in the dangerous elements for an extended period of time. But if that isn't for you, maybe you already have a generator, that's fine as well. We're not asking you to throw away any existing products or try to replace any existing products. Same thing with any other portable generator or even standby generator. You can have it connect to our battery system as well. They'll just land on a breaker in the power dock and be controlled via there. So it really is kind of like that Swiss Army knife of backup. You can kind of put it in any method that you want to, any install configuration, and it can adapt from there. Make sure that you're really getting the best experience out of any backup situation that you're in. So that's the good thing about how it plays with generators. The good thing about how it installs itself is we want to make this effortless to set up and effortless to expand. So you can kind of see in the pictures there on the left, there's no wiring in between models or modules. These things just snap together. The cords that go from the batteries to the dock itself are all pre-made, so you don't have to worry about any conduit running all over the side of your house. There's no complicated wiring to be done. It's all relatively seamless. It's about as plug and play as you can get. In addition to that, on the next slide, a couple other cool features that this thing has is it is NEMA 4X and NEMA 3R rated. What that means in plain English is this is designed to be outdoors. You don't have to hide this away in a garage or something like that. If you want to put this outside, put it outside. It can take the heat, it can take the sun, it can take the rain. Hopefully, Florida doesn't see any snow, but it can take the snow as well. And the generator itself, it does have a water sensor in there. So if you do get any standing water in there, you don't have to worry about it ruining the generator. The sensor will go off, give you an alert on your phone as well. So you can get that taken care of, get it moved to a drier area or something like that. On the next slide, last but not least, Storm Guard. This is a really important thing that we have for coastal areas like Florida. So since the system is hooked up to the internet, anytime National Weather Service issues an alert, this is automatically going to start charging the battery from the grid as fast as possible. Make sure that your batteries are topped off at 100%. That way you're not getting caught by surprise if the lights go out and maybe you had the battery discharging, it's only half full or something like that. So it's going to kind of look out after it on its own. So you don't have to be 100% on top of it at all times. And then once that weather alert clears, it'll automatically go back into any operating mode that it had been in before. And then as well, you can also use this app for all the smart panel features that we talked about earlier, whether it be backup strategies, turning things off and on, or things like that as well, or taking control of the generator and making sure that it's doing what it needs to be doing. So just wanted to give a quick rundown on the system itself. So I didn't want to get too technical into it, but if there are any questions, just go ahead and type them in the chat. We'll try to circle back at the end of the presentation, but hopefully that was enough to kind of pique your interest on the system itself. So to continue talking about how to acquire backup solutions, clean energy solutions, I want to introduce Jeffrey Kenny. He's probably the most trusted installer that I know in Florida. So I'll let you go ahead and take it on home.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it, man. So we're getting close to the part everyone wants to hear, which is, pricing, what's the cost, financing, monthly payment. First, I just want to explain a little bit of where PowerSol fits into this whole partnership. So PowerSol USA is a Florida-based electrical contractor. We specialize in solar, backup batteries, and EV chargers. We are located in Super Walmart in Gibsonton, Florida, which is something that we're fairly proud of. It's one of the biggest things that sets us apart from a lot of the other installers is being in Walmart. The biggest benefit to being inside of Walmart, other than we have the opportunity to speak with hundreds of homeowners a week, is consumer confidence. In an industry that's it's rampant with fraud and misinformation, it's refreshing for homeowners knowing that PowerSol USA was vetted by one of the largest corporations in America, Walmart. And if there's any issues, we have a brick and mortar location. They can come walk into, they can come see the product, touch the product before they purchase it, come meet us. It's we've got the Anchor E10 on display in here, functional, so they can actually see how it works before they buy it, which is pretty unique. It's a different experience than the guy passing through town that knocks on your door from Utah or wherever. I always tell customers, good luck getting them to answer your phone call after the install. And that's something that we've done exceptionally well at PowerSol USA. We're A+ rated BBB, 5 stars on Google. And our motto is local experts building real relationships. So we look at this more a long-term marriage. We're going to service this unit through the warranty and then after. And I see a lot of horror stories, people coming into Walmart that were installed, and we want to avoid that. It's all about this industry is an educational based transaction, and it's all about expectation. And our goal is to make sure that we provide, we ask the right questions to make sure we build the right system for your power usage, for your use case, for your home. We're going to really design the battery to fit in your situation. It's not going to You're not going to go the opposite and design a house to fit in the battery. So we want to make sure this fits exactly how you want to use your power. And then we target the likely months here where we lose power. Uh, August, September, October is that's when the hurricanes are hit typically, and so we instead of just looking at your overall average, we really look at those specific months, which are going to be traditionally for most normal usage. That's going to be your higher usage months. So we look at those and try and build the system off of your exact usage. Um, in 2024, the Tampa market, all of Florida, really got hit with two hurricanes back to back. It hit the port, and which made it very difficult to get gas. So even people with generators really didn't have any luck. I have my brother-in-law waited in line two different occasions for about 3 hours just to be disappointed and still didn't get gas. So with a battery, you don't have to. You can keep your family safe and comfortable. Keep the food in your refrigerator without leaving the house. But after that storm, I noticed a shift in the solar industry where one of the primary reasons people wanted to switch to solar was for battery, where previous to that, battery was really an add-on to the solar. I've seen more and more that solar is the add-on to the battery, and uh, our attach rate before those two storms was in the teens for solar, where we add on the battery. Since that storm, I can only remember one out of at least 200 systems where that didn't include storage with it. Everybody wants storage. Um, Everyone has different needs for their storage, whether they want to just keep their refrigerator, lights, modem, the essentials on, and then other people want it for comfort, mobility. You want to keep your HVAC on. Really, it's no fun in September when your power goes out and it's 103 degrees outside. Um, some people have well pumps, so we really got to we look at the electrical setup and what your home specifically has to design the system, and that's one of the first parts of the process. Is we either do it virtually or come out to the house. We look at your electrical setup, we look at your utility bill, and really work hard to design the perfect system for your specific needs. We're going to ask a lot of questions as far as what you want to run, what specific items, and that's one of the things I like about the E10 is with one power module you can power your entire house, and it's also unlike some other designs where it's like 13 and a half kilowatt hours or 15 kilowatt hours. You're either stuck at 27, you have to buy two whole units, and you'll have 27 kilowatt hours or 30 kilowatt hours. With this one, it's module, so you can start with 18 kilowatt hours and then add six later if you wanted. And like David said, they just snap together like Legos. So once the install is completed and we've taken that power dock and connected it to your main panel, adding in storage later is a DIY. It's super easy. You can really just order that battery module online and plug it in. Sherry, if you can go to the second slide here. So once we understand what the homeowner needs, the next step is turning that plan into a clean, properly installed system. That's what this slide is about. It shows real homes, real installs, and real protection. So these are real customers. Um, so, like I was saying earlier, we want to find out what your specific backup needs are. So we want to protect what matters most to you, and what matters most to you might not be the same as what matters most to your neighbor or other people down the street. So we want to. It's really going to be based on you as your family, what you all want, and uh, we talk, we ask questions, we listen, we look around, we check out your electrical, and we'll design a system to fit your home. So the battery is not the only piece of the system. There's a lot of moving parts here. Um, and that's where experience in Florida matters. There's hundreds of different authorities that have jurisdiction. So building code in Hillsborough County could have be slightly differ from that in city of Tampa, even though the property addresses may be less than a quarter mile apart. You could have different different building code or just different inspectors interpret it differently. So that's where we come in. We are very familiar with pretty much all of Florida, and um, that's what if you've ever had, you've heard people that have run into issues as far as, oh, it took me 6 months to get it interconnected. It's usually because they ran into an issue with the AHJ and not being able to pass inspection or pass the utilities inspection. And it's because they might be doing something that's, it may be right in how they do it in Arizona, but that's not how we do it here in Florida. So that's why the local experience really does matter. And really our goal is just, we want to make sure that you're prepared ahead of time. We want to protect what matters most and give your family more control. Planning ahead does matter because we're not just gonna sell it to you today or finance it today and install it tomorrow. It does have to go through the site survey, engineering, permitting process. Sometimes the HOA gets involved, so it can take anywhere from 30 to 45 days. Some in parts of southern Florida, whether it be Naples or Miami-Dade, it can take 45 to 60 days there. So we want to try and get the ball rolling so you're prepared. And like Mitch said, it's not when the power is going to go, if the power is going to go out, it's when, because uh, I've lived in Florida for 46 years now, and I I don't know how many times we've lost power, but it feels like just about every year we're going through something. And now that I have a young family, we don't have to worry about it with the battery. Something, kind of looking forward to storm season this year. Um, all right, so now that David's went over how the system works, when I went over kind of where Power is sold, how what our part is in it, and our expertise. I'm gonna bring it over to Mitch so he can go over what the pricing is and some bundle packages that the three of us kind of we looked at some of the best values uh, for the typical house here in Florida. Now, just keep in mind, he's going to go over these bundles. We would still go in, evaluate the situation, ask the questions, and then we'll give you, the specifics for your specific home. But that it's a good gauge, and the pricing, it won't be far off of that. I mean, the equipment is what the equipment is. Some of the changes don't cost anymore. It's just how we would install it for your use case. So go ahead, Mitch. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff, and thank you, David, for talking a little bit more about the equipment, how it's going to be installed, and really how this all came about was the reality is solar batteries can be expensive. And so, with the, fortunate loss of the residential tax credit, how do Florida homeowners get access to an affordable battery that is reliable, that has a warranty that and a company that has credibility, and so um, it only makes sense to kind of work with Anchor, work with a credible installer such as PowerSol USA, and provide through Self provide some affordable bundle solutions. And so we have three different options here, and like Jeff has mentioned, they can be customized. This is serves as a starting place, but is also could be a great option for your home. But the idea is for these bundle options to give you an idea of what it would cost, and what kind of value it brings for that cost. And so this first option here is called the starter kit. This is going to be a project cost where it's going to be fully installed by PowerSol USA with the Anchor Sol XE10 under 15K. When it's financed with Self, we really want to focus on not longer term loans. We want you to be able to pay this off as a reasonable payment early so that you can enjoy all the benefits, at the second half of the system's life. And so in this case, the monthly payment for a project like this would be $250 or less. This is an estimate for a 7-year loan. What it would include is a small system for your home, so a 5.28 kilowatt size system. What that basically means is for a typical average household that uses around 16,800 kilowatt hours annually, you're going to cover about 40% of your electricity costs. It's going to this is going to be paired with a power module, which is each module is 6.14. David, correct me if I'm wrong. And that's in this case, you'll have one module which can back up your critical appliances during an outage. And so this is really a great way if you don't have solar, if you don't have a battery, if you just want to start somewhere, this is the starter kit, the more economical option for this option one. And then we have option two on the next slide. And option two is going to be more your standard kit. So the idea here is you'll get more solar, more battery. The costs in this case can range from 25 to 33K. What that looks like with a 7-year loan could be in the low 400s to the mid 500s a month, paid off in 7 years. And you're going to get 60 to 90% of savings on your electric bill. So it could cut your entire electric bill out for a average household. It's going to be able to back up not only your critical appliances, but also for an extended amount of time, and also start a 5-ton AC unit for a period of time. And then, as David has mentioned, what's great about this type of battery is that it's expandable, but it's not only expandable, it's easy to plug in. So you can get additional units for $2,000 each to add either right away to this current price or later in the near future. And so this is great for someone who's looking for whole home backup and getting the majority of their electricity bill covered. And then we have our last option here, which is our battery only option kit. And this is really for anyone who already has existing solar panels. If you're looking to get a battery, you can start off by, adding the battery kit in, and for under $200 a month. And, this is going to be two modules, battery modules. So 12.28 kilowatt hours. So that same backup that we saw in our standard kit is going to back up the same appliances as well. And so this could be, another scenario or option for you. And so we really wanted to kind of provide these bundle options so you have an idea, a better visualization on what may fit your needs. And we'll move on to the last slide here, or sorry, second to last slide. And this is where you can really round out that system, by adding a solar power mini split. So if there's a specific room, that you want to cool down during an outage, a solar power mini split can be a great option as well. So, these can run from 3,800 to 4,800. Um, and they can be a great add-on, as well as a smart generator, which David had talked about, with his Anchor brand, only $1,800. It can be served as a great secondary backup for long power outages, or when your solar batteries would need some extra help. And so, um, goes back to that hybrid setup that I mentioned. So this kind of helps protect you in all kind of scenarios, adding that smart generator with it. And we'll move on to the last slide now. Really, what do you do from now? After figuring out a little bit more about what makes batteries affordable, why they're needed, and how they can be a benefit. The next step would be to get a free customized assessment. We have a link here. It's through Jeff's PowerSol USA website. We also have a QR code, which you can fill out the form and start that process. And from there, you can either choose one of the bundles or customize it or tweak it a little bit to make sure it fits your exact needs. You can then apply for our financing, and PowerSol USA will then install it. And so I think this now ends the webinar or presentation. So we'll leave some time for Q&A for anyone who may have particular questions. Feel free to ask them. And Sherry, if there is any questions in the chat, maybe we can start there. But if there isn't any questions, we hope that you guys will follow back up if you do have questions. Both David, Jeff, and I are available to help answer, whether it's financing, whether you want to know more about the equipment specs, or know more about installation experience. We're here to help.
Thank you, gentlemen, Mitch, David, and Jeffrey. That was some great information, a slick product, and some great financing and some great install features. I don't have any questions in the chat at this time. If there's anybody that has any questions, please feel free to raise your hand or just go ahead and ask a question. If not, I will go ahead and send these slides out to everybody that has registered as well, so you can have everybody's contact information. Any last thoughts from our speakers?
No, thank you. Thank you all for your time.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for popping in on this webinar. We plan to do another one similar to this webinar in the near future with probably some updates. And so we look forward to you attending that one. Or if you're listening to the recorded session, feel free to come to that webinar as well, because we do think batteries extraordinarily important for Florida, and it's only going to get more critical, not just for weather, but just due to the current existence of the grid infrastructure, and where the demand for AI and data centers are only going to put a lot more pressure on the grid, and we need alternative solutions, and residential batteries is one of them.